Good Thursday to everybody, including you, Jim. Today we have our interview with Steve Tarani. Who is Steve? How would you best describe him, Jim? He's basically a defense
Badass.
tactics expert. Is that the best way to describe him?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
Man, I'm telling you, you got to stay tuned for that interview. Prior to that, though, we're going to talk a little bit about the UN. It's asking Americans to cut back on what Jim will tell us. A U.S. Navy medical officer has some alarming data we will tell you about. The Chicago mayor knows exactly who to blame for the city's problems. And then, dude, where's my car? We'll tell you about the Denver mayor. That and so much more on what, Jim?
Two guys, one coup.
Thank you.
Did it? Yeah.
Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Good job, Jim. Skip the and.
Yep.
You're back.
Might as well.
Back. You got your A game back.
I'm back.
Good to see. Good to
I'm
see.
back, baby.
Yeah, you are. Describe our interview later, Jim. Steve Tarani. Describe that gentleman to our viewers.
A person who you just won, and fundamentally, it's just don't mess with the guy.
Just fundamentally.
And he teaches you. He also teaches how to not mess with you.
Yeah.
And an interesting take, because how many of us want to learn those techniques?
Yeah.
To be the 90%.
That's right.
That's right. 10%.
Not the 10%.
We'll explain that more.
Yeah.
He'll explain it in there. But, it's because that's the point, okay, fine. If I have the ability to take you down, I'm going to take you.
I'm going to take you down.
That's not
That's
it.
The last resort.
So, yep.
Right. So yeah, it's incredible. He's an incredible person.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. And he's just, you'll just know, if you're watching, you kind of get the idea that, hey, I just don't think I'm pretty much going to mess with this guy. And if you're just listening, go over to Rumble, follow, and share, and start watching.
Yeah.
And but anyways, if you're listening, you'll get the whole gist of it too, because
but he's done some things that we can't talk about. He asked us not.
There are things he's done we can't talk about.
It's just amazing. I mean, he's phenomenal. So, and again, thanks, Wayne. Another awesome
Wayne Black
dude.
Introduced us. So probably.
I guess we need to go back to John Curley, to be honest with you, because he introduced us to Wayne.
So thank you, John Curley, to introduce us to Wayne, who introduced us to that. So yeah, I mean, it's just there's been a lot of people involved in all that. So no kidding, John. I mean,
we need to go get those
Wayne, but John's probably this. John was the start of it all.
Yeah, so we need to go get those Anchorman shirts.
Yeah, I know.
We're kind of a big deal.
We're kind of a big deal, folks. We wake up, we piss excellence.
That's a different movie, but that's cool.
It is a different, same guy.
Great quote.
Different movie. Yep.
That is my favorite quote, actually.
It is.
Every morning I wake up, I piss excellence.
I piss excellence. So,
anyway,
I missed those. There should have been a Talladega Nights 2.
I know.
There should be an Anchorman 3.
Yep.
I mean, I don't get why these movies aren't being made.
And can you believe there's people out there that just hate Will Ferrell?
Okay. Okay. I mean, so comedy is very subjective, right? So that the style and all that is, I understand. I mean, there's comedians I do not like. There's comedians that I absolutely love. And my wife, for instance, can't stand this one and I love this one, so it's, I get all that's all subjective, but how can you not laugh at Talladega Nights?
I mean, and not only that,
Anchorman,
he's in one of our top 5 favorite Christmas movies of all time.
Elf.
Yep.
Elf, how do you not like that movie?
Yep. And in mine, Elf probably would be, second or third on my list.
We know Die Hard's first.
Thank you, Mark Archer.
Yeah.
He posted something on Facebook, and he agrees with me that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So enough said. Done.
Okay. So
Anyway,
done.
let's go.
Because Mark said it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
and
why it's
me,
done.
but you don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move
Let's
on.
ask Bruce Willis. Oh, wait.
Yeah. That's not very nice.
That's not even funny, Jim. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, I did not say that.
Jim, we got some crap we got to get into here
yes,
because the interview is coming up, and we want to make sure everybody pays attention and listens to that. You want to learn some stuff. You're going to listen to Steve, that's for sure.
Yes.
Because we sure learned. I'm going to get in this right away. Just the first thing I'm going to say is the headline read is this: Democrat Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, not Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, Democrat Denver Mayor Mike Johnston's car stolen just before Joe Biden's arrival for campaign event. Denver has been plagued with crime and rising auto thefts in recent years. Biden landed in Denver Tuesday afternoon for a campaign event and was greeted by Johnston at Air Force One. Spokesperson for Johnston's office confirmed that his car was indeed stolen, but declined to offer additional details about what happened or where. Well, what happened was his car's missing. I think the mystery solved. And he wasn't the one who took it. So I'm guessing it was stolen. I don't think there's a secret there. The spokesperson declined to share more details about where it happened or what the vehicle looks like to protect the safety of Mayor Johnston and his family. So it's unclear whether the theft happened in Denver or elsewhere. The fact is, elsewhere. Where was the Denver mayor before that? Where was his car? Where did he park? Where did he leave the car? I think we could probably find out those details without digging too deep and being an investigative journalist.
I don't know. But it's one of those. Don't you think it's one of those that we talk about this before? It's journalists, because you won't see this on. You don't see the crime, rampant crime on
Denver. Does Denver come up as like one of the crime-ridden cities? And no, you really don't hear about it.
Heck, on CNN and MSNBC, you don't see all the crime going on in the major states of Illinois and California. You don't see it. They don't talk about it because they can't.
No, that's right. They can't talk about it. This, for instance, Colorado's auto theft rates climbed by the fastest rate in the nation from 2011 to 2020, jumping 144% during those years.
Not that this means anything.
No.
But what party does this mayor belong to?
Well, I think the headline read as such, Jim. Democrat Denver mayor.
I guess all we can say is this: you deserve what you get. The unfortunate
Republican
thing,
city mayors, thefts happening. I mean, we get all that, but
I get it. But it's not
general,
their policies in general that caused the anyway.
No, yeah, it's true, and it's that, and it's the all the defund the police crap and all the other stuff. Before I get into my next thing, which is a little bit more serious, obviously. Listener of ours, Moms for Liberty, Elizabeth Smith, she sent us something through message, which I had no idea was even a thing, right?
Totally surprised me.
So they've just passed a law, I think in Pennsylvania, right? Where it is now.
This isn't the serious one, right?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll get into that one in a minute.
Okay.
They've passed a law in Pennsylvania where now you have the right to decline certain examinations while under anesthesia, such as pelvic exams, rectum exams, which I thought you just, hey, doc, I'm going in for knee surgery. Do you mind not sticking something up my rear end? I mean, is that okay? Is that, if it's not necessary, why is that a thing?
You saw what I put. There has to be a law for this?
I know. Well, you saw what I put.
Yes.
That you would opt for the rectal exam.
Yeah. Well, while you're unconscious, why not?
Yeah, but what? Hey, look, no hands. I didn't even. I didn't know this was a thing, Jim. I'll move on from it.
There obviously is a thing, or there wouldn't be a law.
There's a law saying,
I guess we had doctors performing pelvic exams on women when they just were having their tonsils removed. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't
this
know
is
either.
Weird.
It's weird. It's a weird law.
Yeah. Well, while we're here, let's
while we're in,
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's, my wife has gone through 2 very extensive surgeries. You know that.
Yep.
And, that's, we don't need to go into details about it.
And she didn't have a colonoscopy, did she?
No, well, I don't know now. I wasn't in the room. So I'm not sure what happened while they were there. So I'll
trust me, the surgery she had, she's not going to know either.
Yeah, she wouldn't know either. So, I mean, but yeah, that's just crazy. Nobody would know. I mean, if nobody told me, now I'm concerned. Now I'm like, oh shoot, I got to go. Now I got to think about what else they're going to throw in me, or check.
Well, I think there's aren't there butt plugs you can put in ahead of time?
Well, I think that Jim, you know a lot about those.
Do not enter.
Huh? Do not enter. Yeah, it's just an exit only.
Unless written approval.
Sign. Yeah. Like just marker on it, like don't touch hair with a Sharpie or something. And they do that when they amputate things. They're like, cut this leg off. I mean, like,
yep. It's sad that you have to do that, but there's been stories that you have to do that.
Holy crap, you cut the wrong leg off.
The healthy leg. Yeah.
Yes. That's not funny, but it's hysterical at the same time, Jim. I don't know why. Yeah. It's just,
well, if you're going in for foot
that'd be
surgery,
something that'll happen to you.
When you go into foot surgery, you do not take heart.
Yeah, like do not take heart. And now, please don't enter my butthole.
That's right.
Please.
While I'm asleep. We can talk about it when I'm awake, but just not when I'm asleep.
If dinner's not involved first, then there's no way.
I'm not saying no.
I'm not saying it's not a hard no. But it's Jim, on to more serious things.
Yeah, you're going to go to a serious story after this. Yeah,
well,
okay.
Yeah, maybe I should just skip it. We should move on.
No, go ahead.
But this is important, I think. U.S. Navy medical officer exposes Defense Department data showing alarming increase in heart-related issues among pilots. Guess what? Following the COVID-19 vaccination. Here we go again. Myocarditis up by 151%. Heart failure by 973%. What? And now you can get your new COVID 4 shots and they're free and everybody can go. So go on, guys. Keep just shoving that shit in you. Doesn't matter. It says since the introduction of the experiment COVID-19 vaccines, the news has been covering numerous studies from health professionals revealing startling findings that the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines are linked to rapid onset of heart-related problems in individuals across all ages, which we've talked about all these died suddenly things. We've gone into details about a lot of that stuff. On Monday, Lieutenant Ted Macy, an active duty officer in the Navy Medical Service Corps and a whistleblower, revealed Department of Defense data indicating a significant rise in heart-related issues among military pilots following COVID-19 vaccination. Lieutenant Macy, who also serves as a Navy health administrator and medical recruiter, shared these findings in a recent video elaborating on concerns initially raised by his wife, Mara Macy, a candidate for Florida's 5th congressional district in the U.S. House. Mara Macy's social media posts criticized the treatment of thousands of service members during the vaccine rollout. We all remember. I think if we don't have short memories, but we all remember this, highlighting a deep mistrust in military leadership and calling for accountability and justice. So you may have seen my wife's recent post, Lieutenant said, and I want to elaborate on that and give you an example as to why reinstatement back pay and apologies isn't enough. in a staunch reply to Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt's call for rehiring previously discharged service members with full back pay, rank pay, and an apology, Mara Macy emphasized the deep lack of trust in military leadership among those affected by illegal mandates. So here it says, there is a complete lack of trust in the military leadership, but also those who walked away, including just shy of retirement, those who fought from within but were flagged for promotion, those who didn't want to take the shot but were coerced, and us family members who have been told that our community's mental and physical health is important to that alleged leadership. It says, according to data presented by it, Macy, there has been a dramatic increase in various heart-related ailments among fixed wing and helicopter pilots. The figures show surges in conditions like hypertensive disease up 38%.
Mm-hmm.
Ischemic heart, is that pronounced right? Ischemic heart disease, 89%, pulmonary heart disease, 82%, heart failure, 973%, and other forms of heart disease up 83%, and cardiomyopathy up 152% compared to the 5-year average prior to 2022. There's a link clearly then. And I tell this story for this reason too, because we were just told a story about somebody that we know, and our audience even knows about that person's child who stood up to the military and refused to take a vaccine. And then what happened to that person? We're hoping to have that person on for an interview here shortly. So stay tuned for that. But this is directly reflected of what happened to him.
Yep.
So that's crazy, Jim. That's just absolutely mind-boggling to me, and not surprising because of all the stories we've heard. So,
and I'm surprised there hasn't been, in all honesty, someone like from the Daily Wire, or maybe they've done it, and we just, but to go out and I know the sad thing is you got to interview families of victims, right? You got to interview families.
Correct.
Did they get the shot? Which ones? How many boosters? Because I would really like to know that. And I think the rest of the country has a right to know that. Because remember, guys, these initial shots came out, these vaccines, where they would not come out with them until the federal government gave them amnesty from any potential lawsuits or anything else. Because this came out a lot faster than a normal one could come out.
Yeah.
So, so I would just like to know that. I really would. How many of these individuals, how many had the boosters, how many they had, which ones, and because I think the boosters now, I think, are a little better. I'm still not getting them, but I think they're a little better than when they first came out. But anyway.
It's true. It's very true. Jim, tell me a little bit about the UN and what are they asking us to cut back on? Because it's the UN, and so I feel obliged to do it.
Well, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but when I see the UN is going to create a roadmap of how to fix something,
or of anything,
I feel so good. I am like, you remember how in the last show I was kind of down a little bit, because you think we can rebound. I don't. Yeah. Now I am so happy because the UN is getting involved. Okay, folks. Dale.
Yeah.
Do you like your steak?
I love it. Rare, by the way.
You love your hamburgers?
Love them. Rare as well.
Yep. Well, you're not doing enough.
Oh, no.
A lead United Nations
need to eat more, you're saying?
Agency overseeing food and agriculture policy is expected to issue a roadmap in the coming weeks, which will call on the West, including America, to dramatically reduce its meat consumption.
I've got some meat they can consume. I'm telling you, that's the last bit of...
The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization will publish its so-called Global Food Systems Roadmap during the upcoming COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai. which will kick off on Thursday and extend nearly 2 weeks until mid-December. We need a 2-week summit for this?
Well, can I ask you with this? Can I interrupt real quick? How are they getting there to Dubai? Is it the solar planes?
No,
or is it the
they are actually. I saw
wind-powered sails. On
the
the boat?
ones that are going on land.
Mm-hmm.
There's these. They're the rickshaws.
Yeah.
So they're riding rickshaws all the way. I mean, you should see it.
That seems like a human rights issue too. Someone's got to pull that rickshaw, but I guess not.
Anyway, they're not going by electric cars. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah, I guess they're not.
But that is a great question, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are they getting there? And it's 2 weeks.
We could do this by Zoom,
And are they going to turn the lights off in their hotel rooms?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm just.
Or are they going to eat? Are they going to eat grass and oats? Just the whole time they're there.
Folks, all of you climate change activists out there,
weirdos, you mean?
Of the carbon footprint that these individuals are going to be doing at this summit. And
Greta
how much
Thunberg
red
going
meat
to be there?
They're going to be eating.
Yeah, they are not going to be eating grass and oats.
Well, some will.
Well, it's probably
the representatives from India more than likely.
Yeah,
but the representatives from India more than likely will not be eating red meat. But that's okay.
Do you know any vegetarians, Jim?
Oh yeah,
true
yes.
vegan, true.
Vegan, no. Vegetarian, yes.
Vegetarian, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a little weird, aren't they?
No comment.
Anyway, they lack a little. Their color, they're like gray in color. It's weird. But go on.
The FAO, which is Food and Agriculture Organization's first of its kind document, will recommend nations that overconsume meat to limit their consumption as part of a broader effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I got a great idea. Why don't all these people reduce their air intake so we don't have to listen to this shit? Anyway, sorry.
Just think of how much more better air there would be for all of us if they would just stop using.
But again, have you noticed that they call on America when they want America, right? We're evil. We're this evil country that, we have to be. That's why the Biden and the Obamas all went around and hugged everyone and gave everybody billions of dollars and all of that stuff. But now they want us, to sacrifice.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too.
So anyway, so folks, I'm not going to go into this whole because it talks other stuff and it's all the same stuff about.
But the meat, just red meat, right?
Yeah.
They want us to stop.
Remember, because all of this is to reduce everything by 1.5 degrees.
I got to be honest with
folks,
you. This morning
that
in Florida
is going to save the planet.
If it was 1.5 degrees less than it was this morning in Florida, I'd have been pissed. So I mean, I'm not willing to reduce the temperature at all. So I'm only looking for increases.
And guys, when you see this happen, what do you think this liberal administration will do with this?
Well,
just think about it.
Yeah.
The cost of your red meat is going to go up.
Oh my God. It has already.
And all of these billionaires that are buying all this land with cattle on it.
Yep.
Folks, you're going to enjoy that fake meat that Bill Gates is making. You enjoy that because this is concerning. Because when the UN puts a mandate in, for whatever reason, liberal American administrations listen.
Boom. They listen. That's it.
So, again, elections matter, folks.
Yeah, they do. And fair elections matter even more.
Oh, the last election was fair.
Oh, okay.
Nobody can convince me that this man did not get 81 million. Oh, wait. They just
try as you may. You never will. That man, yeah.
Okay.
Chicago mayor.
This man is a genius.
Well, I mean, you thought we had a good Chicago mayor before with Beetlejuice.
Okay. A typical liberal. Okay.
Okay.
Nothing is his fault. It was either Lori Lightfoot's fault.
Which it probably was.
Now, it's right-wing extremists.
Oh. And who are right-wing extremists, Jim?
Well, us.
It's our fault.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, so Mayor Johnson issued a statement about the far right during a press conference on Tuesday.
Yeah.
What we've seen is a very raggedy form of right-wing extremism, the mayor said. Everyone knows that the right-wing extremism in this country has targeted democratically run cities. And quite frankly, they have been quite intentional about going after democratically ran cities that are led by people of color.
Oh, yes. Racist right wing.
There you go. See, you have to throw that in there.
Got to throw it in there.
The mayor even said that such right-wing extremists aim to create division and chaos because that is that particular political party has been about. Oh, my God.
What? They're freely can say anything they want, and their minions and sheep will believe
If I wouldn't have said who it was, that they were mayor, if I would have said this comment, this group is creating division and chaos because that is what this particular political party has been about. If we just
I'm thinking the left. I'm thinking of whack jobs on the left.
But again, doesn't explain why his crime rate is high. It doesn't explain why the city is in shambles. They're increasing. How do they put it now? It's not homeless. It's what is it called?
Houselessness.
Yes. No, it's not. It's
but it's something like that.
It's something ridiculous.
It's some prettier word.
Yeah. Now here's what he added. It is the same party that wouldn't accept that President Obama was actually an American. Now I will say this. There is a large group of, not a large, I should say, there was a small group of conservative Republicans that did believe that that little handwritten birth certificate that was presented to us. Well, okay, so I've moved on from that. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, so there was a small faction that did believe that, but they never necessarily disproved it. But I'm just saying that there was a small faction. Okay.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
No, I'm just like, when we learn more and more and more, and even the last episode, if people haven't heard it, we played that clip from Tucker Carlson about Richard Nixon, and what we learned there. That's 50 years ago. I mean, and it's like, okay, could they, bogus birth? Of course they could. They rigged an election.
Yeah. But anyway, look, I was one of those people that just felt that, man, this would have been a huge story and something would have come up. But anyway, it's whatever.
Too, but you know.
Yeah, who would have thought you couldn't prove that the election was stolen? Anyway.
Yes, who would, unless you're a Republican.
This is my favorite one.
But other than that.
Because this is the typical one, right? It's the same Republican right-wing extremism that stormed the Capitol.
Oh, stormed.
Can they give any other examples? They can't. It's just that one. We have all of these examples. We can show you that their group burns everything to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ours.
Yeah.
200 people stormed the Capitol. The second most secure, if not the most secure building in the world.
But that's the only one. And here's one that really blows my mind. It's the same right-wing extremism that refuses to accept the results of the Civil War.
The results of the Civil War? What is he talking about?
Democrats. Southern? It was the Democrats. The Southern Democrats that wanted slavery to wasn't.
What is he talking about?
I don't know. I guess this is how you qualify to be mayor of
Chicago. He
goes
back to the Civil War.
It is abysmal, and it is an affront to everything that is good about this country for the extremism. I agree with him.
Yeah.
In this country to use people as political tools and settle political scores for something that happened over 400 years ago. They're still mad that the black man is free in this country. It is not our side. We had nothing. It was
I know. Well, I'm surprised you didn't say it's the same right-wing extremists that hung Jesus on the cross. Like,
Okay, folks, we need to do a history lesson here, and I'm giving you an assignment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go out if you want to go back to the Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look at who were the ones that truly voted to end slavery. Just go back and look. Okay.
But it was different. See, here's their excuse now, though. Here's what they tell you. Well, that was back when the Republican Party was more like the Democrat Party is now. Now the Democrat Party was like the Republican Party back then.
What about the civil rights?
Well, again, same situation, Jim.
It was only 200 years after, or 100 years.
Yeah, 200 years after, things didn't change, and then now, yeah, same situation. Jim.
Okay, well,
no,
but he went on to say,
it's clear as day.
Right-wing extremists were not the only scapegoats employed during the mayor's press conference. According to the Daily Mail, Johnson also blamed his predecessor, Democrat Mayor Lori Lightfoot, claiming that he inherited her mess.
I agree. Finally, I agree with
exactly.
The delusional.
Oh, by the way, you want to hear
idiot.
this? You're going to like this because you referenced something similar.
Oh.
The real disconnect is that you have an unclean spirit that has captured the right-wing extremists in this country. And I call on them to dig deeper and lean on their faith. As Jesus said, who our neighbors really are. The one on the roadside, those are our neighbors, Johnson said.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's all
Jesus.
I'm telling you,
so now it's okay. He quoted Jesus.
Christ on the cross.
Guys,
unbelievable. Chicago, good for you. You keep getting what you deserve.
It's a typical liberal who cannot take any responsibility.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Even then, I'd just be like, yeah. Lori Lightfoot. That's why she's not in. It was terrible. She's a terrible mayor.
Yep.
I'm going to do this to fix it, But how long was Lori Lightfoot mayor of Chicago?
I think 4 years, right?
I thought it was longer than that.
8, was it? Wasn't.
I think it was 8.
Yeah. Well,
did you ever see a picture of her before she was
Johnson,
mayor?
You guys.
Have you ever seen a picture of Lori Lightfoot before she was mayor?
Look like Michael Keaton.
No. It's amazing what liberalism will do to a woman. I mean, it's just nasty.
Yeah, folks. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago.
Let's go, Brandon.
Your future presidential candidate.
Vice president to Gavin Newsom. Yeah, folks, that could be running the country soon. You never know. That is terrible, Jim. Unbelievable. Hey, you want to get to this interview now?
Yep,
what do you think?
Let's
we
do
got
it.
More to talk about, or
always have folks, a lot to talk about.
Oh, I know that. Especially when it comes to butt plugs. Well, I mean, you brought it up.
I'm sure Steve would appreciate that again before his interview.
You brought it up. As our resident show's butt plug expert. You got to listen to this, folks. Steve Tarani, defense tactics expert, both, and what he'll explain to you is hard and soft skills. You'll get all that if you don't already know what we're talking about after he's done. Incredibly interesting, and the man's had, again, another guy with a resume as long as a CBS receipt. Yep. I mean, it's just like, it's incredible what this gentleman has done. So stay tuned for this. Jim and I will come back and we will wrap this up when it's completed. Folks, we are pleased to have with us today Steve Tarani. Briefly, Steve has served the United States Defense, law enforcement, and intelligence communities for over 30 years. In addition to all that, Steve teaches self-defense and weapons training, self-awareness-based training. In the middle of all that, he's only authored 9 books, and he also serves on the National Sheriff's Association School Safety and Security Committee. We were briefly introduced by our good mutual friend, Wayne Black. So I want to thank him. And also, Steve, thank you for coming on the podcast. We really are so super happy you are here. What did I miss? What else can you tell us about yourself and about the training you do?
Okay, no, you pretty much got everything there on the list. I spent quite a few years as a federal contractor. I did a lot of time overseas, working with every pretty much 3-letter agency you can think of with a vowel. I've done something with or for.
Yeah.
So lots of time overseas, and a good amount of my experience, in the on the side of the situational awareness that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd like to share some of that, some of those discoveries with our listeners.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Please go. Whatever you can tell us, that would be very interesting, and I think we'd learn a lot from it. So yeah, the floor is yours.
Sure thing. Okay, so a lot of what I did, being involved with protective programs and in the world of protection and protective services, I part of my responsibilities was to train other people and mostly other protective agents on how to solve problems in that you could run into in a protective environment. So, as an example, rather than generalize, I'd rather provide a specific event. So,
Please.
one of our pre-deployment briefings, there was a very seasoned protective agent, the elder silverback who had been there longer, done more. So we're all sitting there, and as part of our training, it was important for us to qualify with our, firearms training had to be at a certain level, and if you weren't at that level, you couldn't deploy. So the gun side of it was really important. And the very first thing he says, and we're all at the edge of our seats, want to learn from the feet of Papa Bear Master, and he says to us, "If you boys go to guns, you failed." And we're thinking,
Interesting.
we're all of us with the knuckles forward, thinking, "What? This doesn't make sense." We spent so much time, and all this emphasis on the qualifications and your hard skills and all this. And he goes again. He says, "If you boys go to guns, you failed." And so he explained to us, the importance of solving problems. He says, if your first response is to go to guns, now you're the one that's bringing a gun to a fight that didn't have a gun in the fight originally, and you're sending rounds downrange. What do you think the bad guy's going to do? And what about your protectee? So we all kind of shook our heads like, yeah, it makes sense, And he says, I have an idea, boys. He says, how about if you look for he likened the firearms or any of the hard skills to the lifeboats on the Titanic. That was kind of his association. And he said to us, how about this, boys? How about look for an iceberg, right? And if you are looking for an iceberg and you see an iceberg, then you realize, you know what? We don't want to hit the iceberg, so let's drive around the iceberg. So drive around the iceberg, right? so, the way he laid it out, he goes, you failed multiple times. So if you fail to look for the iceberg, fail to see the iceberg, smash into the iceberg, and now do you need to know how to use the lifeboats? Yes. Okay. The idea
That's a good analogy.
Here are all, we're not exactly the brightest bulbs in the box, but his point was well received.
Yeah.
So it all made sense to us, and what he was really trying to say was, he's emphasizing the proactive measures. So anything to do with hardware or hard skills is reactive measures, and anything that's not hard skills and not using your body is proactive measures. So he really, really stressed the importance of proactive measures, and the value of a skilled protective agent is their ability to avoid the situation where you would ever need to go to your hard skills. That's the mark of a good professional.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense when you explain it that way.
So when we want to get into your book, Prefense. Okay, and we'll let you talk about that. It's the 90% advantage. Okay, and it's basically preventing bad things from happening to good people. That is the title of the book. A couple questions I have. First is, you have Prefense. It's capital P-R-E and then capital F-E-N-S-E for. Please explain, because I'm sure there's a reason for that, and a little bit about the book and about what gave you the idea to write it.
Sure thing. So this whole following along the string of this proactive measures idea, which of course is prevalent. Think about any agency. Think about Secret Service, diplomatic security service, military attaches. Anybody who deals with and has to work in and around a protective services environment, their number one priority is the safety of the protectee. So introducing something that's going to, in some way cause an event or a series of event that'll bring in your hard skills, you want to go in the opposite direction. Your primary objective is avoidance. It's the A answer. So in any protective service, you've got three options: avoid, mitigate, or defend. You want to stay as far away from defense as you possibly can, and even mitigate, because the A answer is to avoid. And how you avoid is using proactive measures. So originally, I have a very strong background in martial arts and defensive tactics. If our viewers or listeners need a sleep aid, they can look up stevetarani.com. And you can see all that background.
Wow.
Selling yourself short on that
one. And so given that, I had a lot of folks that come to me, and I service countless federal contracts, state contracts, DOD, civilian law enforcement, on and on for over 30 years, nearly 4 decades of my existence.
Wow.
And in all that time, I always got asked the same question. Well, what's the secret move that I can use every single time that'll work all the time? Can you guys guess what that secret move is? There isn't one.
Yeah.
Because if there was,
everybody
we'd all know what it was. It'd be on YouTube, and
that's right.
Wait a minute. Now there's movies. I've seen movies that come on.
You mean it's not like the movies? Okay.
Wow.
To quote the Kung Fu Panda, there is no secret.
Yeah, that's right.
If there was, we'd all know it, right? So
that's right.
So and then you got to look at it on the spectrum of, how many people are willing to put the amount of time and effort it takes to develop a hard skill. I mean, I can talk about, the whole martial arts side of it, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, any of those arts, your stand-up arts, your ground fighting, all those skills, they take a tremendous amount of time, commitment, discipline. You got to get on a mat and sweat and bleed and get hit and hit others, and recovery and injury and all that. Very very few people are driven in that direction. Very
correct.
few. And then if you look at the services, look at the armed services, look at state and local law enforcement. When you go to those academies, those defensive tactics, which are essentially qualified martial arts techniques that have been approved by your agency, legal counsel, etc. That's the defensive tactics package. Even within that defensive tactics package, do you really want to risk the amount of exposure and personal liability if you engage in very high level hard skills altercation, whether it's posted guns or impact weapons or whatever it may be, you're putting yourself out there and it's a high risk situation. Yeah. So over the years, many people have asked me, hey, okay, maybe there's no secret move, but how can I position myself in an environment that gives me the tactical advantage? Okay, now we're moving further away from defense and further away from being rocked back on your heels, trying to react to this thing, when you can now take a little bit better position to mitigate it. If you take that one step further beyond mitigation, you get to prevention.
Yep.
And that's where all the soft skills are. So if you divide the two life-saving skill sets, one of them being the hard skills, which require your physical body, and the split second you introduce that, you introduce the scale of injury, the potential for injury, all the way from a Band-Aid to, 6 feet under. So that's quite a range that you're introducing when you start to move into your hard skills. The other set of life-saving skills is your soft skills, which does not require the body. It just requires your awareness, and to be able to utilize your awareness as a weapon to prevail in your immediate environment. Which of those two sounds more attractive to anyone, not just
and
protective
safer? Yeah,
services,
and all. Yep, correct.
Yep. Who wouldn't want those skills?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
to answer your kind of a long way around your question,
No. That's perfect.
to get to there is to I mean, of course, I'm a proponent. Anytime you're going to be involved in protective services, you do need to have the lifeboats. You do need to have that. However, there's a very long explanation of why 90% of that equation, 0 to 100, 90% of it is soft skills. Only the last remaining 10% are where you would need to react and have the hard skills to back that up.
Yeah.
So the focus is on the 90%. And in the book, and in I have another book, Your Most Powerful Weapon. It's much smaller than the Prefense book. It's, for those of us who want the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Prefense is the full, gives you the 110, percent. And Your Most Powerful Weapon, in my most recent book, is the kind of cliff notes of that. And if you want to get more into it, we can go to the Prefense. In our soundbite society, people want the answer in 5 seconds.
I know.
Right.
It's immediate. Yep. So it's immediate gratification. The quicker you get it, the quicker it's the TikTok world they're in, they can get that information. And the next thing you know, that's what they do. So it's a good idea to put it out, but I would highly probably suggest the full version. And a question I have about it is teaching those skills, and in your book, and you also teach them in classes. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, right? So there are classes offered for this that you can go to, and all that. It's always, it always seems harder for me as a person, and maybe this is generally in the public, the immediate reaction as a, weapon carrier and all that is to never want to use the weapon. I mean, if you're responsible, that's the last thing you ever want to do. But it sure seems like getting to and everybody's different, and their mental makeup's different. And so getting to that point where when you have to and when you don't is kind of a fine line for a lot of people. I think I'm at least what I'm gathering is that the book Prefense and the teachings will kind of lead you down that direction to, this is what you need to do to avoid all of that. If utilizing the skills, but again, that's got to be also kind of like years of training in somebody as well. You read the book and you've got to practice those, and that's the problem. It seems like in today's society, there's just so many whack jobs and so many distractions and crazy things going out there to be able to just focus and use those skills. So you don't, is that what I'm gathering the training will do, and the book is kind of directing you towards?
So there, yes, to go back to your first question, there are 3 modalities of this type of instruction. One is, of course, in the book. You can get either the Prefense book or the, Your Most Powerful Weapon. The second way is I actually teach these classes in person. I do lectures. I'm a keynote speaker, so I speak at different events. And then thirdly, and I think this is important, especially for our audience and viewers, is that, there's a new website called My Prefense, MyPrefense, My Prefense. So if we go on myprefense.com, myself and 40 something other experts are involved in this advisory team that you have access to, all of us. You also have access to an online training version of this. We go through St. Leo University. It's a very highly respected online criminal justice university, and the Prefense program runs through that university. So you get a college certificate of completion when you're done with the course.
Oh, okay.
So that's very nice. You can even use that for your continuing education or something like that. And going through the college course, it's very very well laid out, and you have to go and take the quizzes and the final exam and all that. So it's a college course, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
imagine a
absolutely.
college course on preventive measures. That's
Yeah.
what that. So that's another method. MyPrefense.com also offers other options, not just the online training, but we have an advisory panel. We have other services that are available. So if viewers are interested in learning more about that, myprefense.com, there are many other options available. So to answer your second question, Dale, it is about the having the skill. So like any skill, learning how to play the piano or speak another language, you do have to put time into it. But I can tell you this, nearly 40 years in, that learning hard skills requires physical effort, sweat and blood and getting hit and sustaining injuries and long-term commitment and discipline. I'm all about it. I spent my life doing it. So I'm 100%. But for those folks who, that's not an option, whether it's, disability or you just don't have the time, life, work, kids, all this stuff, family, everything. There is another solution. So, and that is what I like to use the term, an alternate force option.
Okay.
So that's what soft skills are. It gives you another option, another tool in your kit. Let me provide a real world example. One of my students, and I'm a certified firearms instructor through USG, FLETC. I'm in my 23rd year up at Gunsight Academy as a range master, et cetera, et cetera. So I have lots and lots on the gun side of it. And I'm a proponent of, having the tools you need to solve the problem.
Yep.
So one of my students, one of my gun classes I was teaching in California, he's very proficient inside the waistband guy, and he's got the sub-second draw thing down. He's rock solid, really, really, proficient. I'd call him a masterclass shooter if you're looking at it from a competitive side.
Sure.
Anyways, he gets in, this is California now. He gets in an altercation, and the way he described it to me, bad guy comes, it was it was outdoors in an outdoor venue where the bad guy comes in front of a brick wall. So he had a really good backstop, an exterior brick wall. So bad guy with his back against the brick wall, good guy facing bad guy looking at the brick wall. Bad guy pulls out a weapon and demands that my student hand over his wallet. And the guy's moving the gun around and he's got his finger on the trigger and moving the trigger. It was he had every legal right to, to respond. And he could have, in less than 1 second, he could have deployed and solved the problem using his hard skills. He was very, very skilled. Wouldn't have been a problem. He goes in that split second. This all happened in about 2 seconds, right?
Yes.
In his mind, he's running through it. He's going, okay, this is a good shoot. However, if I drop this kid, now I live in California.
Yes.
It is a minimum of 3 to 5 years of depositions. They're going to take all my guns away during that time. It's a minimum of $150,000 just out the gate to get started. Yeah. And he's doing all this math and all this stuff in his head. And you know what he decides to do? Abandon the idea of the 1 second the sub-second headshot and to ask the kid, hey, I just need this one credit card because I can't pay it off. He puts the card in his pocket and throws the kid, his wallet. Kid grabs the wallet and it cost him $200. Kid runs away, problem solved.
Yeah.
And he made that decision on the fly as an alternative to lethal use of force.
Wow.
So having the soft skills provide you another. So he uses verbal judo, he uses verbal skills to solve the problem. So having those soft skills on board provide you what I call an alternative use of force option.
Okay. Yeah. That's a very good example of that.
And to answer Jim's question, you can use this. The more you use your soft skills, the lower the probability of ever needing to go to hard skills.
Yep. So the more you can master the soft skills, for sure. Yeah.
From your courses,
excuse me,
from your courses, and then your speaking engagements. let me ask you this, because maybe I'm not thinking in the right way, or maybe we don't want this to happen. But with your relationship with Wayne, I'm assuming some of the school safeties have come into question.
Yes.
Now, for me, who just met you and looking at this and knowing this, would this be something that maybe a school system might not be a bad idea to go ahead and have you and some of your trainers in to kind of show them some techniques maybe that could help them? I mean, in a situation of an active shooter, or do you want to just, just lock your doors and barricade yourself and stay away? I mean, how would you, because obviously you don't want some guy going up and just trying to, and then end up getting killed and killing other people. But, are there certain skills that this could be taught for educators?
Sure.
In mass shootings, I don't mean to interrupt, but like in a mass shooting situation, I mean, I'll let you answer, but that seems like almost an impossible situation to use rational skills that you have, or soft skills in that. But Steve, you're the expert. You tell us.
Okay. So Jim has presented a completely different scenario than yourself, Dale. So let me take one at a time.
Okay.
So Jim's discussing what we call proactive measures, and there are opportunities to solve a problem proactively.
Yeah.
And Dale, what you're talking about is you're right in the middle of an active shooter. You're well past the timeline for proactivity. So that's reactive measures.
Yeah.
So if you'll let me manage both separate questions individually.
Please.
So let's go back to Jim's. Jim's is a proactive scenario, and just like Wayne, I also sit on the panel there at the National Sheriff's Association, and incredibly good people that are part. I wish those folks had more opportunity to share their background and experience, because it's a wealth of knowledge. It's what I call America's best kept secret.
Yeah.
So Jim, part one of your question is there are hundreds of programs out there for active shooter. So you can go online, and I don't even know how many. I know it's in the hundreds of programs available. Alice, and you've heard them all the well-known ones. DHS has their own. You've heard of the Run, Hide, Fight, all that. And they're free. You can go online. There's a resource for schools called drawing a blank here, schoolsafety.gov.
Okay.
So you can get onto that website and see all that. Tremendous resource for multiple training opportunities. And they're free, no cost. For the reactive side of it, active shooter response.
Yeah.
What we, myself and my team, what we specialize in is prior to that, not even the mitigation, the avoidance, the prevention of it,
and awareness,
utilizing proactive measures.
Yeah.
So we have two separate programs on that website, myprefense.com. There's another program called Prefense for Schools. It's on the same site, and it was originally designed for schools. However, we found that it actually works better for parents. So what it allows the parent to do, let's say you're a concerned parent that has kids in school. In that school, they have a school safety program and a security program and all that. Well, if you're the parent and you want to contribute to that, this program's Prefense for Schools trains you to be able to do that from home. It's a really solid program, and it also runs through the college.
Yeah.
Same thing through St. Leo University and all that. Again, you can find that on myprefense.com.
Wow.
And now back to Dale. Your question is, here we are. You'll take the venue, for example, in October with the mass shooting in Vegas, for example. Obviously your first warning is, shots.
Shot fired. That's the only.
That's your first early warning. And, there are some precautions you can take. A little bit of planning. You can do environmental planning or environmental mapping. For example, maybe you want to position yourself closer to the perimeter. Something like that. So it's, easy, egress and stuff like that. So those are initial things you can take. But you really don't have anything. It's called an ambush.
Yeah.
And, you really have no choice but to react. Your three reactive measures are the usual, flight, fight, or freeze. So you can't fight something you can't see. Who knows where that long gun is, that rifle.
Yeah.
It's not recommended to freeze in that
It
situation.
sure isn't. Yeah.
And a moving target is much more difficult to hit than a stationary target, right? So little things like, let me give you some concepts. So when you're planning on that kind of venue, it's a nice idea to be closer to cover or exit so you can get away if you need to. Don't wear a pair of flip-flops. If you need to run 250 yards, wear shoes or clothing that is conducive for that ability to move,
Yeah.
Let's say you or your family member gets hit. Do you have access to a first aid kit nearby, near the car? Did you walk by one in a store, something like that? Be cognizant of how you can do. Those are just kind of ideas that you can utilize both proactively and reactively in that type of situation.
Yeah. So that's why in an active shooting situation, part of the awareness of not just your surroundings, but I think, and do you teach us, or is there a way to kind of pinpoint? And a lot of us look at somebody and you kind of get, the hairs go up on the back of your head. You get a little creepy feeling. Sometimes that instinct is 100% correct. Sometimes it's not, you know, being aware of people in general, keeping an eye on, oh, that guy looks I'm just going to keep an eye on that feller, and then, is that part of the awareness training, not just the surroundings and the quickest exit and where it can go? That's so important, but kind of pinpointing who might be the one you're I don't know, years and years of experience. You kind of, I'll give you an example. So just basically I can look in local news and I see a mugshot of some guy, and I'm like, I probably would have just stopped and questioned that guy just for the way he looked. I know that is profiling. I get all that. Okay. Regardless of what it is, it's not, I'm just looking at this guy and, he's got, I hate the world tattooed on his forehead. I mean, there's things that are signs for that. And so I'm just wondering if there's a way to kind of keep your eyes and ears open for general people that you see that might be a little creepy. And then at that point, most people are like, well, I don't want to say anything. And the guy's probably all right, And I kind of disagree. I'm like, I think you should tell people around you, keep an eye on that guy. I don't know. Just a thought, just on my end. I don't know.
So Dale, yes, to answer your question, the training goes deep into how you're looking and what you're looking for. So it goes into detail about what's called event indicators and threat indicators.
Okay.
There's a difference between an event indicator and a threat indicator. And then the program goes way deep into utilization of the 5 senses, mapping your environment, how to spot anomalies, setting your baseline. There's
Good.
dozens of these tools inside the awareness package.
Yeah.
But I will give you an overall generic perspective of how this all works. Okay, quick show of hands. How many of you guys have ever looked at your watch with your eyeballs to see what time it is and looked again a second time?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? We're all guilty of that. But now we actually put our eyes on it, but we didn't see it. Yep. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why do you think we didn't see it?
Well, I'm thinking because you're not focused on it. You're distracted. You're peripheral. Anything. Your mind you're looking right at it, but your mind's saying something else.
Exactly.
Gee, I'm hungry, but I'm looking at the time. So I mean,
looking is, you're absolutely right. Both of you are absolutely correct. Looking is not seeing. Yep. There's a difference. A trained protective agent goes into a room and sees everything. Mm-hmm. Someone who is not trained will look at everything. There's a huge world of difference. So when you engage your mind with your environment, that is the magic. That is the difference between those who are trained and those who are untrained. And how do you do that? That is the guts of prefense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good.
So
good. Yeah.
When you go through this training, like in-person training, because I know you can't, it's kind of hard to do the courses and stuff, but when you do the in-person training, have you recognized people that maybe having some of these skills probably aren't the best? Because you might get someone who just wants to be a badass, and use it. And have you ever ran across that where it's like, I'm not so sure I want to teach this guy the skills, or have you?
It's a crazy, good question. No, I think honestly, because that's true.
Well, as far as soft skills go, I mean, I've never really run into that. Almost, I've had tens of thousands of students over the decades.
Yeah.
I've never really run into that on the on the soft skills side of it.
Yeah.
But on the hard skills, I was teaching an edge weapons program one time, and this guy walked in, with the tats and the gang symbols and all that tattooed over his face, and a couple of the homies were with him. I'm not going to be teaching you guys the 7 lethal strike zones out of human body.
I know that's okay. That makes sense.
So they were, they were street cred guys. They got it, so they were cool.
That's
because I always wondered that, because there's just some people that they're just not in for the right thing. They're just not in it for, I want to be tough. I want to be, and they could cause more problems. Not that they're going to go out and just kick somebody's butt just to kick their butt, but to try and be that hero when mentally, the 90%, they're not there. And so that's all. I was just curious on that, because with you guys being able to identify that, it would be, because Dale would be one of those people that just
that's not
to
true.
kick some butt. I mean, he would see, he was going to attack this guy because he didn't look right. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
No, I'm just, I could probably use the class, Steve, is what I'm saying.
So what the beauty of it is, whether you are, it was originally designed for protective agents. That's what the program was originally designed for. It's how to take a guy who already knows what he's doing, or he or she who already knows what they're doing. They're experienced. They got time on the job. How do you bring them to the next level of awareness with those tools necessary for you to never need to reach for the lifeboats? So that's how this thing all got developed. And then I was thinking later, like, wait a minute, there's so many people that are coming to me, and I also teach civilian classes, and many civilians came up and asked me, hey, I want to learn, to protect I'm concerned about what's going on out there, our porous borders, our increase in crime, especially now with the holiday season, predators are out there in force, and human trafficking and all that. And, the answer is, yeah, sure. I mean, everybody has the choice to do nothing. That's your choice, or get training. And your two areas to get trained in are hard skills and soft skills.
Yep.
So those, and there's only two kinds of people in the world: those who are trained and those who are not.
Yep.
Which do you think has a better chance at?
Agreed. Well said. Well said. And I'm glad you brought up like human trafficking and sex trafficking, and the awareness portion of it, and especially for women and young women and moms and with their children and children in general, being aware of those surroundings is that part of the skill set, knowing, okay, we're going to the mall today, or where have you. I mean, it's mall season, it's shopping season, all that's going on. Know your surroundings, know where you're at, know where you can go, and be aware of people around you, I guess. It's got to be all of that, right?
And there's a big difference. Dale, you're correct. And also, let's look at it in two different distributions of content. Okay. One is tips. Just give me some tips. Okay, here's some tips. Be aware of your surroundings, lock your doors, roll up your windows. There's your tips. Yeah. You can go online, you can find hundreds of tips.
Sure.
The difference is that it's not, I use the word tip because it's, one of those pro tip type things.
Yeah.
But to be trained is different than knowing a tip.
Yeah.
Let's take driving, for example. Here's a tip. Start to slow the vehicle down a little earlier before you get to the red light, so you don't screech through the white line, right?
Yeah.
And then a professional driving course.
Yeah.
There's a difference between tips and professional training.
True.
Right. Yep. And pre-fence is at the highest level of professional soft skills training you're ever going to find out there.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay. Absolutely good analogies.
Do you go to a lot of police departments to help with? Because this sounds like something that a police department would be, having their people, especially in today's world.
I service, I still have federal contracts and civilian law enforcement contracts that I service at the state level. And it's more of an integration. Really, the buzzword now is de-escalation.
Right.
That's kind of what's prominent out there. And what better de-escalation than to be able to see it, hear it, smell it sooner, and then know how to react to it.
Well, that's because that prefense, when you were talking about that, the soft, that right there told me that is today's day and age with police forces that could be used a very valuable tool.
So it is.
It just
it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got great, law enforcement has great tools out there. They have Dr. Thompson, verbal judo, and other such soft skills that are, available through their academies, offices of standards and training, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. And not to, I don't equate this to this scenario, but it feels like this is what they were thinking of when this happens. Okay, there was to fund a police movement. We don't need to get into all of that, but that we know it doesn't work. We know that's just ridiculous in general. But then they wanted to replace them with like social workers, people who would try to de-escalate a situation by verbally talking. I'm never against that. I'm never against, hey, let's go that route. You can't simultaneously then defund the police and remove police force and expect criminals to just talk it out. There's got to be that backup to it. So, thoughts on that? I mean, social workers talking. I get it. There's like hostage negotiators. There's all sorts of things that use those skills. So
you've got your specialist, and I understand and the value of that. I acknowledge the value of a specialist. But you in a law enforcement capacity, when you send an officer out, and they've been trained and checked off and signed off on the entirety of the use of force continuum.
Yep.
So they have the skill and the training to go from uniform presence to verbal commands to, carbine if you need to.
Yeah.
That's the gamut of their skills and capability. Now, a social worker may have, from verbal to maybe moving your body into a position of advantage, something like that. But beyond that, there is no hard, unless they have it themselves.
Yeah.
They're not trained in the hard skills necessary to manage a hand-to-hand altercation using defensive tactics or going to, impact weapons or firearms. As you know, those are specific skill sets that take months, if not years, to really come up to speed and be able to call yourself competent and have that onboard capability.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
And your real quick, your other books that you have out there, a lot of knife information. Is it something that somebody can get, like for instance, let's say mastering the curved blade? Okay. Now I'm assuming security. You're trying, because just like someone like me, probably get myself hurt. I'd probably cut myself is what would happen. But so can they learn how to properly use a curved blade from the book, or do you recommend here's how you do it, and then maybe professionally try to practice on it, or what is your recommendation when somebody like buys that book?
So Jim, I'm going to go Socratic on you. I'm going to switch the question over to a gun. Can you learn how to use a gun from a book?
Yeah, just no.
You can get the basics. This is how you store it. This is how you hold it. This is how you load it. This is how you unload it. You can get that from the directions no one ever reads.
Yeah.
Good point.
To gain true proficiency requires hands-on. And an instructor that's got a lot of years that
that's right.
They can provide you that expertise for your training.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, Steve.
But one question you asked that I failed to, and I want to cover this, is about the human trafficking.
Yes.
So it is a prevalent issue in the U.S. The last numbers I had researched, and one of my strategic partners. In fact, let me mention this. The movie Sound of Freedom. One of the executive producers is Paul Hutchinson, and they run the Child Liberation Foundation. and Liberating Humanity. I've partnered with them, and when people go to them, it's, if you haven't seen the movie, it's strongly recommended.
I mean, when it came out in the theater. So
and Paul is the real deal. And if you go on those websites, Child Liberation or Liberating Humanity, you can get them through myprefense.com.
Oh, you can. Okay, good.
Our strategic partner page, and you'll see the link. And when you get on there, those websites also offer programs of healing for those who've been involved, education, so you come up to speed on all that, and then also protection. And if you click on protection, that's where the Prefense site comes up, because there are many things you can do as a parent and as a concerned dad or spouse. How do I protect my spouse? How do I protect the kids? How can I prevent this from happening to my family members?
Yes.
Again, proactive measures.
Sure.
And being able to have the skills that it takes to avoid being put in that situation in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I'm very proud and honored to be involved and actively engaged with the support of the anti-proliferation of human trafficking via the Child Liberation Foundation.
Yeah.
We did a show on.
Go ahead.
After the movie, we both watched the movie, and then we
as soon as it came out,
we did a special to review it and talk about it, and I wouldn't say at all experts at all. I mean, but we're more knowledgeable about it than we were, just saying, "Ooh, this is bad." It's something that we've done, and all of anybody who has worked in that you've done, that Paul has done, that all the individuals, we're very respectful of them, of you, for being able to do that, because it's horrible and it's out there, and the people who think that it's not, that really bothers me are the people who don't believe it's happening. That's really what bugs me. That bugs me about that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go here right near the end was, and the people that are, I guess, just not really paying attention to what happened. Here's what kind of always happens, and it happens in America a lot. There's a shooting, and then we move on, and there's something else. There's, the movie comes out, and everybody talks about it, and it gets a lot of press, mainly a lot of negative press, obviously, we don't have to go into that end of it, but it gets press, people go see it, and then they forget about it. It's about trying to just keep this out there for everybody. I mean, all of the sex trafficking and human trafficking. Heck, there was somebody associated with the Pentagon, I think just today, who was busted for being involved in human trafficking. And he was part of, I think, the school, like part of the Pentagon school. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But what I'm saying is that people just tend to forget. And we in America tend to kind of move on to something else. Remind everybody, how bad is this human and sex trafficking industry in America? They see it. It's overseas. Oh, it must be happening there. How bad is it here?
Yeah, it's, that's more of a question for Mr. Hutchinson, but the
probably.
I do remember seeing a slide on one of the presentations, $41 billion industry in North America alone.
Billion
in
North America.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what a billion is? It's 100 million. Okay. So,
and that's what they know of. That's what it's known.
Yeah.
And then, you can go online. There's all kinds of, State Department, all these other DHS, many have statistics you can look up and, come up to speed on that. But again, if you're looking for something real world, a training tool, something you can actually do yourself to help prevent that, especially with your family, again, I'm just going to recommend the Prefense program.
Yep, okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will push that. Steve, we didn't even get into all your knife making skills. There's that. I mean, we know all, but people can learn that from going to stevetarani.com, right? And then also we're going to myprefense.com. We'll post all the links on our social media on this recording. They'll all be there for you to look up, and we highly recommend you do. Steve, any last words before we let you go?
Yeah, I having been in the world of safety and protection and personal safety and the protective services, I strongly urge and encourage our viewers and audience to consider getting yourself trained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's what's the difference. You know, it's what makes the difference. And you are either trained or untrained. Your percentage, your likelihood of prevailing in a real bad situation go up exponentially with training.
Yep. And there's a lot of bad situations happening. We see it every day. So, you know, take that advice and get yourself trained. Steve, we appreciate it. Thank you for all of your service, for what you do, the work you do. We're honored to know you and super happy that you agreed to come on, and we'd love to have you back. So if you got time, we'd love to have you back to talk more.
Great. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Jim. You guys are doing great work out there. Thank you.
We're sending the message. You're doing the great work. We're just trying to help as much as we can.
We're just trying to
we appreciate it.
We're trying to get your everything you do out there, and people can go to it. And,
and honestly, I probably do greater work than Jim, but we will. That's another show, Steve.
But it's typical.
It's typical. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. We appreciate it. Bye-bye. Well, thank you, Steve, again for coming on the show. Incredible person. I mean, when you talk about somebody who's tough as nails, both mentally and physically, and capability-wise, this guy is it. The stuff he's done, who he's worked for, who he continues to work for, things we can't tell you. So it's worth checking it out. You know, myprefense.com. Go to that website. Jim and I have been, I assume you've been, I've been to the website. It's incredible. You too can learn all you can to really to protect yourself and keep yourself out of, which was really crazy to me, Jim, keep yourself out of that situation where you're needing to go to a weapon or to hands-on or to whatever it is. There's a way to do it, and a safer way, and honestly, the smarter way. I mean, he talks about, you know, once you pull that gun, once you make that shot, and you know, there's just times where you're not going to not be able to. We get that. I mean, there's self-defense and all that, and there's, but then that just opens up all sorts of stuff for you. You know, whether you're self-defending yourself or not, that gun is immediately taken away. You are immediately arrested until the investigation is complete. And then you could end up in a Kyle Rittenhouse situation or so, you know, I mean, you just never know. So there's a better, safer way to do it. But
in the story of his friend that he told at the beginning, you know, very, very skilled, could have drawn
literally
that
could have just put a bullet between his guy's eyes.
But then, to know your surroundings, he knew that if he did, what he was going to have to go through.
Correct.
Because of where he lived. So, folks, you do have to understand that if there's a way to de-escalate, is the chance of you or your family getting killed worth the $20 in cash you have in your wallet?
Or whatever, thrown in the wallet.
Because you can cancel those credit cards.
You sure can.
Right? You can cancel those credit cards. So,
and most of the times the credit card companies, because they make jillion dollars, don't mind, you know, even like, you know, putting that money back in your account and all that. They'll do it for situations like that. You're right, Jim.
Yeah. So just, you know, it's you know, he makes a good point, because most of the people that go out and learn how to shoot a gun properly, know how to defend yourself, know how to do this, that the first instinct that you might have is, okay, I'm going to pull my gun and shoot him.
Pull my gun out, shoot that guy.
But are you going to do it fast enough?
Or is it worth the nightmare afterwards?
So it's interesting to put it that way, because, you know, when you talk about the 10%, the mental, man, a lot of things can be resolved by that.
It can, you know, and then there's also the opposite side of that, where people are like, well, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, you know, that whole phrase.
That's, Yep.
You know, so it's a tough call. And that's kind of what I was trying to ask him a little bit, is like, there's always going to be that. It's knowing the split second reaction, what to do and how to react. And that's what his classes can teach you. You know, that's what he offers. And he also offers, you know, weapons training. You know, the guy designs his own curved blade knives. I mean, the guy is like, it's an incredible website, folks.
Go out and look at it, folks. It's great. I mean, you know, I would, like we talked about, I'd cut my finger off and stuff. And I'd have to use, you know, like, what was that movie that Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg were in? The Other Guys.
The Other Guys.
Where they had to give him a whistle eventually. They gave him a wooden gun.
Yeah.
And then a whistle because that would be me.
That'd be you. Yeah. Was it the other guys?
Yeah.
It was. What's the one I'm thinking of with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling?
Oh,
Great movie.
Yeah, that was from California, right, or something like that. Yeah,
it wasn't like La La Land. It wasn't that kind of thing. No. You know,
that's a little different.
and it wasn't the one with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, which is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is also a great movie, by the way. But I can't remember what that one is called. But anyways, okay, so we went down movie memory lane. That's and we didn't remember most of anything.
But yeah, go out to his site.
Go out to a site, please.
Prefence.
My Prefence, PREFENSE.com. Yep. SE, not fence like you're building one. Yep. It's really, really incredible. And he travels across the country.
Yep.
Well, hell, this guy travels everywhere, but he travels across the country.
We are actually trying to plan something.
Plan to go to an event ourselves, to take the class, not to record, not to do any of that stuff, but just go.
Just for our own. So we can make our families feel a little safer.
Why not? Why not?
Because we are, that's what we want to do. So.
And that's right. And folks, I also want to remind everyone too that if you haven't listened to the last show with Christy Hutcherson, please do so. Please share that episode. Go give her some of your hard-earned cash. Every little bit helps, but go to WFFA.win. as well, and she really needs it. So she's doing good work out there. So I just wanted to remind people of that.
It's worth it. It really is.
Worth it. So. It's worth it. So it's definitely worth it. Jim, anything else to add to this week's series of wonderful shows and sparkling personalities and great interviews and nothing?
Again, we keep meeting great people. I mean, if anything has come out of this, about if nobody listens to us anymore, it's the people we've met.
Oh, it's people. It's why we'll keep doing it too.
Yeah,
it's just, and then they have good messages.
And folks, for those of you out there, they tell us, they tell their friends about us. Okay, so we obviously must be doing something right.
We must
because people want to keep coming on our show.
Yep. So they must be. Well, listen, so that's why it takes listenership and it takes viewership and sharing and liking and all that stuff.
Yeah, please share and like it.
That's what you folks have to do out there. That's really that's the least you could do to help us out, so we can keep bringing you people like this. So we can keep getting this message out there, because it's only going to get worse this next 2024 as far as silencing conservative, voices, which that I'm not trying to use that phrase from our good friend Christine Sposato, who, by the way, they have a podcast now, and Elizabeth. What's it called? Is it called Conservative Voices Silenced?
Yeah,
I know that's her book, but is that what the podcast is? Yep. Yeah, go listen to them too. Just starting out on the podcast. I mean,
they're wonderful ladies, and please support them, and we'll continue to support them. They're going to be on our show talking about their podcast, and
we'll be on theirs. Yep.
Maybe they may not after this one about
they can't wait. I'm sure they can't wait. So,
Jim,
I am done for the week. Folks, thank you again for your support. Remember, like, follow, share on Rumble, and then like us and share. You share the audios everywhere. You can find them on Apple and iHeart and Spotify and all the places you listen to podcasts. Jim's looking around. Must be about to step on a dog. Until then, Jim, I hope you have a great weekend.
You too.
We will be back Tuesday. Jim, do we have an interview Tuesday? Do we have some?
No.
Do we have somebody on our show Tuesday?
I don't think so. Because
I think we do.
We were supposed to do an interview.
Yeah, but that got postponed.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure out our schedule, folks. We won't ask you to. Until then,
I don't believe we are.
I think we are. I think we'll have to talk later.
Did you? Unless you scheduled.
I might have.
You
Jim.
scheduled.
Shit, you know me. I might have, and then I'm like, hey, by the way, wake up early tomorrow, or stay up late tomorrow night. One of the two. Till then, folks. Jim, you have a great weekend. You and your family. Tell everyone I said hi, and until then, we'll see you all on Tuesday.
Go Hawkeyes.
Yeah. No. See, here's my problem. Now we're getting into it. About to leave. I need Washington to lose No, I actually need Washington. Here's what I need to happen. I need Texas to lose. I need Florida State to lose. That's it. I don't need Oregon to beat Washington because they're ahead of us. So I need Washington. I need the top 3 to win. That's it. Yes. And does Michigan need to win? Yes.
If Michigan loses to Iowa, they are out.
But they're not going to put Ohio State over Michigan because of Michigan beat Ohio State.
Well, you got to. Okay, I'll give you that. Give you that.
I mean, and Michigan deserves to be out anyways. But what I'm saying is,
and poor Texas and Alabama. But anyway, that's another story.
Poor
they
Alabama.
have no.
Poor
Alabama. They haven't won a title in what, 4 or 5 years? That's
they're only in it every freaking year. You know what? Next year, none of this matters. 12-team playoff. Yep. It's going to be great.
And wouldn't a 12-team playoff be great
this year?
God.
That's what I'm saying. Would be amazing. So,
yeah.
Folks, we should have ended the show 5 minutes ago, but we didn't. Anyways.
All right. Keep reaching for the stars.
Keep reaching. That's right. Go Louisville. Go Washington. That's all. That's all I need.
Okay.
That's what I need. So, anyways, talk to you later, Jim. Bye.
You've been listening to the 2 Guys, 1 Coup podcast with Dale and Jim. Remember, you can watch on YouTube and Rumble and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it, and it helps others find us when searching for podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Just search for 2 Guys, 1 Coup. That's the number 2, Guys, and the number 1, Coup, C-O-U-P. Thanks again for listening to the 2 Guys, 1 Coup podcast, and God bless the United States of America.